It's been wild. It's been unpredictable, and today it all comes to a conclusion. The signing class of 2015. We won't soon forget this one, will we? Gabe Bach with you, and we've got a big show for you. We're going 1 hour longer than normal, and the first hour commercial-free thanks to our good friends at Aggieland Bud. Welcome inside a revamped three-set actually. We've got a war room going on. We've got a breaking news center. He's Bryce Jones. I'm Gabe Bach. We've got about 20-something people here doing a lot of work this morning, and we're excited to bring you the coverage of 2015 signing day right now on TexAgs.com. I would be Gabe Bach, suited up with a tie a little bit this morning. And wearing a button-up shirt, no hoodie for my man. To my right, your left, Bryce Jones. How are you, Bryce?
I'm good, man. Ready for today to get on and move on, and let's get it over with. Let's get going.
Absolutely. The guy mumbling that you hear, we'll go right to him right now, is Billy Lucci. Billy, good morning to you, sir.
What's up? He just came out firing this morning at Bryce.
I know.
I'm wearing a suit. He doesn't have a hoodie.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing. I don't know who is more suited up this morning, me with the tie or Bryce actually wearing a button-up. So I think we're in good shape this morning.
You're right.
Well, welcome, Luch. We've got a lot. Let me introduce everybody that's going to be a part of this show today. I'm going to have you introduce your guests and our guest former player analysts and some of those who are going to be in studio. And if you want to tease and preview some of those who will be on the phone, you can do that. Let's go to the war room in the production suite, where Stuart Wade is standing by. We've got a war room cam right there. You see everybody doing great work. There's a lot of people. It takes a lot of people to put on a program like this. We'll be with you commercial free for the first hour, and then TexAgs Radio will take over from 8 to 11. There's your war room cam. You got Ronnie Woodard. You've got Brandon Jones and Lindsey Crouch and Cav Nutzi, Annie Coons, Chase McGuire, Bo Holder, Lexi Hudson, Logan Lee, and Kat Ozier. We have field reporters in Allen, Olin Buchanan with Abigail Cook. We're going to be covering the signing of Kyler Murray. We've got David Sandhop in Gladewater for Dalen Mack. We've got Jacob Kristen in Houston, just circling about all the Houston signings.
He'll be at Kendall Sheffield.
He will. Okay, he will be at Kendall Sheffield's announcement
8 o'clock.
and signing. If we can go to the Stewart cam, we'll welcome in Stu Wade. How are you doing, Stu?
Pretty good, Gabe.
Excellent. Tell us what else is going on, what you'll be throwing to Luch and the gang this morning.
Well, I'm back where the real action is, in my humble opinion.
That's right.
So we're going to be breaking signees on Twitter. We're going to be sharing command centers. I want to see command centers this morning. And we're going to be doing polls, taking questions. I'm going to post a thread on the board. We'll take questions there. I'm going to take questions on Twitter. And we'll break in from time to time and ask those to you all and the guests. And anyways, we have a new thing this year also. If you hear this noise,
we'll want a little louder on that one, I believe. But yeah, we definitely want to hear that.
And
we heard nothing.
It's fitting because
there it is.
There it is.
Excellent.
That's going to be the indication there's a new signee. You also see a little bug up here on the screen, so be listening for that. And I've got my Gabe broken ankle bobblehead for luck back here.
I don't know if that's good luck or not, but it was not painful.
Good.
It was not eventful, so it happened quickly. All right, Stu, we appreciate it. We'll come to you time or two, a couple times an hour, and see what's going on in social media and on Twitter. With that, we reintroduce Billy Lucci, and we've got some special guests. Now, I was kind of worried as signing day approached as the guy to your immediate left started waffling a little bit on whether or not he'd make it, but I think he's going to early entry into his next role because he's only going to be here for about 35 minutes, Luch.
A little bit of a panicker. Seth's always been, but
I'm leaving early for the.
So yes, we've got two former Aggie football players, NFL football players that everyone knows, obviously, and both of them have been friends of the program, let's say, for a while. And I can remember both of them coming on the Bellucci Hour way back in the day, and that's former center Seth McKinney and former safety Jordan Pugh, two of everyone's favorite Aggies, and did their homework, Gabe, So I'm looking forward to really chopping it up today and breaking down this class. We're going to have Jordan, who's going to be with us the whole time, and then Seth here at the beginning. So
Steve will be filling in.
And then Steve McKinney's going to come in and relieve him shortly. I talked to Steve a little while ago. He'll be in around 8 o'clock.
Outstanding. All right, Luch, So we'll throw it at this. We've got signees. They're about to come right in. So if you want to split screen this a little bit or go right to Billy, I'm going to throw it right back at you, and you can discuss this in the breakdown set, or what we like to call the Lucci Lounge. I think we created it well for you. Yeah, we got the Lucci Lounge going on. So as signees get ready to be official, and before really the onslaught of that, most of them are going to be in this hour, and we'll continue to break down. We got a lot of news coming your way. Overall, though, Luch, and for your panel, wouldn't you give it an A already? But depending on what else happens today, and maybe even after this show ends at 11 o'clock, you could go A++, put it out of the stratosphere based on a few critical decisions.
I think, Gabe, if I wrote this last night, a great day for A&M is to cap off today's class with Dalen Mack. With what they've already had, what they already have in place, plus Dalen Mack, that is a great class, and Dalen would add. You'd sit back and go, well, you've got really three, what do we want to call it, 5-star caliber players in Mack, Kyler Murray, and Christian Kirk, who's already signed and on campus and taking classes. From anything from there, to me, you start going into that discussion of, okay, where does this class rank all-time A&M? And it will already be in the discussion with if you were to just add Dalen. But if you were at Dalen and I'd say one of those guys that are still out there, whether it's DeMarcus Lodge on offense or defensively, any of the three corners or Roquan Smith, you have to start really saying, where does this one stack up in terms of ones that I've seen all time? It's on a short list. Class of 99 was up there, and then you'd start going back even further than that. So it'll be a pretty amazing group if they get multiple guys today. If they get 3 out of that group we talked about, I think you'd have a hard time pointing out a more highly regarded class coming out of high school in the last 20 years.
Hey, go ahead and toss that around with your panel, Billy, and we've got some stuff that are swirling back here, so I'd like to get off camera for a second. Toss that around to the group, and then we'll come back.
All right. Guys, you guys have been, since y'all been following this, since you've been a part of a class, what are some of the ones that stand out to you guys since you've been following A&M recruiting?
I know thinking back when I was there, I know the class, 4 years before me, the one with Rex Tucker, Cameron Spikes, all those guys, that was a really highly regarded class, if you remember. And it ended up kind of coming through where a lot of those guys played a big role in that championship season, 98. 99, of course, I guess that was the one with Jamar and Ty. Is that right? All those guys?
It was Ty Warren, Sammy Davis, Terrence Keel, who were all first or second round picks right there. They were at the top. And then there were there were more players that contributed, but there were, at the end of the day, that whole class probably wouldn't rate up with some others. You were in which class?
I was 06.
06, and who was a part of that one with you?
And you look at it, it was me, Mike Goodson, Andrew Lewis, Gerard Johnson, Lucas Patterson, who else was it? Terrence McCoy, those type guys, man. And,
yeah.
And when you look at it, the class that stands out to me, I say, it'd be our class. We had Tannehill.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, the 08 class, I want to say it's 08. Christian Michael, the Stephen Terrells, Trent Hunter, those type guys. So, they made big impacts for the program.
Well, and that was that not also the Jake Matthews, Luke Jokel, said.
No, that was
the year after.
I was just about to say that whole class kind of set.
Those are the
set the tempo for where we are today, especially with that offensive line.
Yeah, and I was thinking, so 99 didn't end up quite panning out. Gerard Penwright was another one that was really good out of that class that performed at a high level at A&M. I think what you're talking about, Jordan, is what we'll end up being a theme today, is which of these guys are going to be the ones that aren't at the very top of this class, but that are going to end up being NFL football players, all SEC contenders, because there's a lot of those guys as well. And I was thinking of the 03 class and guys like, with Red Bryant highlighting that one, and some of those guys that ended up, that was the year when it was about Jory Adams and not Red Bryant. And then you see, what happened to Red. We watched the Super Bowl the other day. Yeah. Michael Bennett was probably the best defensive player in that game, right? And a 2-star that A&M took away from Louisiana
And then when
Tech.
you look at it, I mean, with classes, the thing that I would like to see is athletes.
Yeah.
Because positions will change. Guys, you want athletes on the field. You want
And guys
speed
will
on the
mature.
field. Exactly. And so the thing that I see with the class, especially this year and previous classes, I see athletes. I see speed on the field, and speed kills. And being in the SEC, you need that speed on the edge, but you also need that front seven, that front line.
Yeah.
And I think we got that in the class as well too.
Yeah, it's an exciting group, Gabe. I see you guys have flashed. There's already been a signee this morning.
There has, and it happened right at 7 o'clock, the first to get in. Also, closest by proximity, Riley Garner, A&M Consolidated High School outside linebacker, committed, has now signed his letter of intent. Riley Garner now official. Boy, he must be chomping at the bit to get back to playing football after missing the 2014 season. But, Luch, a very good player. Bryce, a thought on Riley? I know you've gotten to cover his recruitment relatively close, and then we'll throw it back to the gang.
Yeah, the hometown kid, he's looking forward to playing for A&M. I had an unfortunate injury that kept him from playing this year, so he's up to about 225. He's working hard and ready to get in here and do his thing. He's a kid I really like, and Coach Sullivan and Coach Hagan are ready to get their hands on him and kind of mold him into what they want to see from him. So
Absolutely. And with that, you've got Riley Garner. We'll pitch it back to Billy, but before we do that, we've got 7 early enrollees who are already on campus now, have signed their letters of intent. Everything's official with them. Just to play catch-up as we get the show off and running here, Riley Garner's the first to sign his letter of intent and send it into A&M. Now we've got another alert. I'll get that sooner than later here. All right, we'll get that. Daniel Lacamera now officially committed. Now that makes a lot of sense. He's the kicker, but he's East Coast as well. So it's 8 o'clock for him right now. It's 8:15. Daniel Lacamera, 6'4", 225-pounder from East Lake High School, Tarpon Springs, Florida, a Semper Fidelis All-American. And so now 2 of them are officially in, Bryce. Christian Kirk is an early enrollee, and joining him on campus now for the spring, he's a wide receiver and a number 35 player overall in the ESPN 300, number 1 player in Arizona. Damian Ratley, JUCO All-American out of Blinn College, and a wide receiver. The tight end is Jordan Davis out of Clear Lake High School. He's in now in the spring. Keaton Sutherland, Flower Mound Marcus High School offensive lineman, is in. Richard Moore, a state champion at Cedar Hill, number 30. And Lucci's 44 and a Semper Fidelis All-American. He's in. JUCO All-American linebacker from Hutchinson Community College, Claude George, is in, as is a safety, widely regarded as the number 1 safety in junior college, Justin Evans, Gulf Coast Community College. With that, let's throw it back out to Billy. Currently, 9 are signed, sealed, and delivered, Billy. When you add in the 7 early enrollees with the 2 that are already in, Riley Garner, and the kicker, Daniel Lacamera.
Yeah, let's start with the kicker, and we'll go through Daniel and then Riley Gardner. A need this year, special teams. Taylor Bertolet, about to be a senior. He's entering his senior season. And I think past history has shown that A&M is going to need someone to compete with him for the starting job. You're not just going to hand that to him after Josh Lambo left. In La Camara, Jeff Banks went out and offered 2 kickers. He offered Justin Yoon, who ended up at Stanford out of Massachusetts. His very next offer was to La Camara. Banks has done a really nice job of evaluating kickers. If you look back to last year, it was the guy that you guys might be familiar with. I guess he's I don't think Brazil, but somewhere from South America for Wisconsin.
Yes.
Or whatever. They all. That was one of Banks' early offers last year, and the guys he's gone on have already been successful. A couple of more successful kickers as freshmen. Now A&M gets their guy in La Camara who can not only kick and kick off, but also punt. So he's a guy that I think filled a desperate need this year.
Exactly. When you look at kickers, you need consistency. Consistency and range are the 2 things you got to look at. And that's something that I think we need on the special teams, especially when you're coming down to those crucial moments in the game. When you need those 3 points, or you need that 1 extra point, somebody who's consistent and who can fill that need, man, when it comes to crunch time in a game.
Yep, and we're going to kick it back. We've got breaking news over here from Gabe and Bryce. Y'all ready?
Yeah, absolutely. This just in, signed his letter of intent, faxed it to Texas A&M. Kima Sivaran, Cy Ridge High School, 6'1", 185-pound wide receiver. ranked number 23 in Lucci's 44, a Semper Fidelis All-American. Also one of those ESPN 300 players. Kima Sivaran, 179 overall, a guy that can fly. Bryce, tell us about Kima.
Yeah, that's his game. He'll pop the top off a defense real quick. He can get behind them very easily. Really smooth and really was a running back until high school, and then they turned him into a wide receiver, and he's kind of blossomed. His coach had Coach Thiebaud, who actually has family here in Bryan, raved about him, and he does a lot of really good things and can come in and probably needs a red shirt to get ready for college football, but a guy who can come in and do some things in this offense, especially stretch that defense.
All right, so Kima Sivaran becomes the third to sign his letter of intent today. We'll throw it back to the gang. Jordan Pugh, Seth McKinney, Billy Lucci. Kima, this past year, 36 catches, 625 yards, and 4 touchdowns, guys.
Yeah, Kima, and he didn't have a lot in the way of a quarterback passing game. He wasn't on one of the more, one of the more explosive offenses out there. When you look at some of these guys, some of these blue chip receivers, even a guy like Christian Kirk, who they really did a great job of getting the ball to out there in Arizona. But to me, when I look at him, this was a big recruiting win for A&M. That there's a few of these guys, Larry Pryor, Justin Dunning, Kima, Ronnie Elam, that people forget what big, significant recruiting wins they were for A&M at the time. The Aggies beat Texas straight up, head-to-head. Most people thought he was heading to Texas. They got him, and Kima, I say he's like the smartest guy in this class because he committed like a day or two, I think the day after Kyler Murray did. So I think that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, watching this kid, I agree with Bryce. He's going to need a year to kind of develop, and especially with all the competition he's got. But he's going to be a great addition. Got great speed, but you can't, ever kind of teach that kind of stuff. And I can't wait to see him out there. But he looked impressive on all the film that I saw.
And then when you look at him, you look at the production. The production over 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. But the thing that I like, he competed for passing.
Yeah.
He caught a lot of passes through traffic. And when you got a receiver like that, that's big for a quarterback.
Exactly. And we're going to kick it back. We got the little buzz. So, Gabe, let's hear it.
Absolutely. Seth McKinney's going to love this. So before we let Seth go, and by the way, I'll tease it. I got to remind you, a big thanks to Aggieland Bud for their partnership, allowing us to go commercial-free this morning and providing the non-alcoholic drinks so that Bryce isn't still asleep. So that's a big thing, too. You got to do that. We're all rolling this morning. We also want to invite all of you listening, if you're watching us right now, that means you're a premium subscriber. And if you're a premium subscriber, we want to invite you to our happy hour, 4 to 6 at the TexAgs headquarters, 308 George Bush Drive across from the Aggie football practice field today to talk about this signing class. And heck, it goes to 4 to 6, and then there's a basketball game right after that. So I would imagine a watching party for basketball might ensue. With that, the kid out of Lufkin. Who doesn't like recruits from the city of Lufkin and the one-time Aggie pipeline for a long time, and a cousin of Jaworski Lane, an offensive lineman, Eric McCoy Bryce, 6'3", 300-pound center at a desperate need. That's a position of need for A&M.
Yeah, and the good thing for McCoy is he's played left tackle, he's played a little bit of guard, but he actually was their backup center, so he has snapped the ball before. It's not one of these right tackles that you just turn into a center and hope they can snap the ball. He's actually snapped the ball before and was the backup center for this football team and got great feet. Is on the basketball team. He's the starting center. Always love linemen that can play basketball and have those great feet, and Eric's that guy.
So, Billy, back to you guys, and Seth, I'm sure this one will fire you up as a former center. Eric McCoy's in.
Let's go, Seth. Let's talk about him. Not a 6'4", 300-pounder, but actually checked in a couple weeks ago on his official visit at 6'4", 308. So, reminds me of Patrick Lewis.
Taller.
Taller and bigger at that age, right. Much bigger, and also much bigger than Mike Matthews. Which, as you get on in the SEC, that's one of the things you want to get bigger. Really across the board in the secondary at center. But talk about what you see from him on tape, Seth. Late addition.
What stood out to me for him is that this guy's an athlete. Looking back, and an athlete at 308. But looking back at, we talked about that class with all those guys joking and whatnot. But he might not stand out as going, wow, that kid's athletic like a boy he was. Yeah. But when I look at him, I'm like, he's of that mold. He's not the mauler that the guy I like the most is Lanfear. I love to talk about him.
Yeah.
But no, McCoy was great, and he's a guy I got the second best lineman in the class in my opinion, and good feet, the way he moves, and with Bryce saying that he's actually snapped the ball, that makes an impact. Being comfortable down there. You can't just put a guy there and expect him to be comfortable. But he does have some years to grow in if he doesn't step up and compete with Mike Matthews or whatever. I don't know what's going to happen there, but he is a good athlete, big kid, and he's got all the tools that you'd want to see in a guy that has the potential to start and move on to the next level in the NFL for sure.
All right, we've got another one, and I want to talk to Jordan specifically about this guy. Actually, both of you guys can weigh in on this one. Gabe, who do we got?
All right, Kingsley Kaki is in. Kingsley Kaki from George Ranch High School, 6'4", 290-pounder. A lot of offers from this kid. Florida wanted him. Will Muschamp really wanted him. Ranked 25th in Lucci's 44 and a 5A All-Stater. Bryce.
Played both ways this year. Played a lot of offensive tackle and defensive tackle, and he's a very versatile guy that I know John Chavis is probably looking forward to getting his hands on a guy. I think he can do a lot of different things with, because I think he can move him around inside to either D-tackle spot.
This is the most embarrassing play ever.
Well, let's go right to Seth. He's breaking down the tape right now. Seth, tell us about it.
I was just going to say, I wrote that down. I was like, as an offensive lineman or whatever, that's about the most embarrassing play you could ever have as a lineman. Right. That was incredible.
Kingsley's another guy, guys, that committed early. He had offers from Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, around the region, and when Will Muschamp offers you early, and you're a defensive lineman from all the way in Texas, you've got something. And he checked in on his official visit at over 6'3", 309 pounds, not 290. Right. He's going to be probably a 6'4", 320, 325-pound interior D lineman. Again, I go back to what we were saying about the centers. That's something A&M hasn't had since they joined the SEC. As an interior guy with that kind of size, what do you see when you watch Kingsley Kaki on
Man,
tape?
I see a quick first step. I see, quick hands, good leverage. I think he could be a 1 or a 3 technique. Either way. The way he plays, man, he's aggressive and he's quick off the ball. You look at him, man, 39 tackles for loss on his career and 19 sacks. That's exactly what you need. Yeah. Then it opens up holes for linebackers. So when you have a D tackle that can man those gaps like that, that's huge.
I think also in John Chavis' scheme, this is something else we're going to see, and I've heard you talk about it.
Right.
He likes those quick, penetrating defensive tackles, and that's not really the style of defense A&M has played in the early going here in the SEC. So this guy fits that.
He's got the right people on board, and we'll talk about him if he signs and all that. Dalen as well.
Right.
But great kid, athletic, which is what we talked about as being key. You just need athletes, and he fits that mold. And both these guys, he and Lockhart, use their hands well. For high school kids, that's impressive, man, when you've got guys like that. And the thing I noticed about Lockhart, he's not in, but just being able to jam a guy and just chunk him, you can't.
Exactly.
That's something that is learned, but to be able to do that as a senior in high school or junior, whatever the film was, that's impressive stuff. Both those kids are good.
Let's kick this back while we've got time and talk a little Riley Gardner, Jordan. The local guy, and like Bryce said, missed his senior year. But you go back and look at him as a junior, and you watch his tape, and you realize that he's almost 6'3". He's closing in on 225 pounds. He'll probably come in here at close to 230.
Right.
And you look at the numbers he posted this summer at one of the U.S. Army Combine or one of those deals this spring. I mean, we're talking about a 36, 37-inch vertical jump. Ran in the 4.5s and a 40. Someone made the comparison at the time he committed between his numbers and Malik Jefferson's at the same combine. Size, speed, vertical, shuttle, all those things, and they were remarkably similar. Right. I think A&M's got a plus athlete there at linebacker that no one's really talking about because he didn't play as a senior.
Right. Exactly. I mean, the thing that when you look at those numbers, all I think is explosiveness. And that's what you want at the linebacker spot. Then when you watch him on film, he's always around the ball. He somehow finds a way to get around the ball, but he has great backside pursuit, though.
Right, yeah.
You can see him. He could be a Mike. You can see him as a Sam. And I love the way he tracks down people from behind. And he's a great sideline linebacker.
Yeah.
And you tie those numbers in. You tie his work ethic. Coming in, 220 now? Could be possibly 230 coming in. That could be a great fit, especially for what Chavis wants.
Yep, and a lot. lot of competition going to be had at the linebacker spot. While we've got a little time again, Seth, I want to talk to you because you're heading out. Give us your thoughts on this O-line class in general. I graded it out with those 4 guys. I gave it a rock-solid A. What kept it from an A+, I think just because the bar's been set so high around here that, in other years that might be an A+ group. But 4-man haul, A&M probably would have loved to have closed out with, Jerry Tillery out of Shreveport who ended up at Notre Dame, or the lineman out of Oklahoma that they recruited forever there, Josh Waraboka. Weren't quite able to do that, so I'm going to save that A+ a lot of times for when you get that national over-the-top guy, or maybe if there's a Jokel in the class this year. And it really wasn't. But I thought A&M got, in my opinion, the 2 best tackles in the state, a center that they chose over several other interior linemen in Texas at the time, and then to get Connor Lamphere, start off talking about him.
Yeah, Lamphere, man, I didn't really know much about him. All I know, I was at a game, and I see this kid walking around. I know he had the recruit tag on. So I asked my little brother, I was like, hey, who's this guy? He's like, oh, he's some country strong guy from Hayes and this, that, and the other. And so I was like, I kept seeing him. I'm like, man, this kid, I told him from that, I was like, he's done. He's NFL. This kid, because you're just looking at him. You don't see that look.
You came up to me and you said, who is this guy that I just saw?
Unbelievable. And then to follow that up, watching his film, the kid's just a mauler, man. And he's an athlete, and he gets after people. I'm telling you, this kid could start day one. Sorry.
So that's got to go.
He could start day one. I'm serious about that. And it just depends on what they want to do with this kid. But he's got great future ahead of him. And I agree with the A, and it's a solid A. And maybe you do reserve that A+ for getting the top guys. But the other 2 kids were good as well. Sutherland and Elbert.
Sutherland.
I don't want to overlook those guys. I think that they both, and including McCoy, deserve a redshirt year. Of course. But I don't really know where did Lamphere rank, like nationally or on your list or what?
Well, Adam is the top 20 to 25 player in the state.
Watching him on film, he deserved every bit of that rank.
If you look at his offer list prior to his junior year, it was Oklahoma, it was Florida State, it was LSU, I believe Alabama. He was national. And
he
Texas,
deserved it.
and flipped from Texas. He was a flip. People
Was he?
forget
That's awesome.
Early on,
That's
A&M got
excellent.
Lamphere to flip from Texas and Jordan Davis to flip from Florida State. They had a couple of big early scores there on the recruiting trail.
I can't speak highly enough for that kid. I'm totally excited for him, and he's one of the highlights of this class, in my opinion. And I was talking with, I want to interject this in earlier, my underrated guy of the class is already here, but Ratley, man, I think he's going to be an excellent addition to the receiving corps. But back to the offensive lineman, that was exciting to watch. And these other kids, Sutherland, good athlete, high effort and all that stuff, has the tools to be there.
Really 1 year at offensive line.
And then Trevor Elbert, big physical kid, has the tools. He'll be there as well. But again, they just need to mature a little bit and get there. But overall, I agree with you completely. A solid A on this class.
Jordan, talk a little bit about Damian Ratley. He mentioned him as a DB, and you're really a student of the game. That you've made a career of studying receivers.
Exactly.
What do you think of a guy with 1 year in the JUCO ranks that scores 20 touchdowns and averages about close to 20 yards a catch?
And I'm in full agreement. When I watched the film, I thought that was a golden gem right there.
Really?
The hidden gem in the class. Because when you look at him, he stands out from the jump. The way he goes and gets passes, he's competitive. The yards after the catch, he can run. He's quick. He has all the things that you look for in a receiver. So you look at him coming in along with Christian Kirk, for example, and you got Speedy Noyle now, and you're looking at the class that's forming, the receiving group that's forming at A&M is going to be a threat, especially for the defenses in the SEC, in particular SEC West. So you're looking at the guys, with Kirk and Ratliff and then Kyler Murray coming in, and then you got Kyle Allen. They got threats now that they can throw to, and it's a big addition.
To me, when I look at Ratley, and by the way, checked in this week at 197 pounds. He's 6'2", 197. They went Darrell Walker out of the JUCO ranks. All these guys had a very similar background. They were not recruited out of high school. Literally, just not recruited. And A&M's found Darrell Walker, who was a key part of an 11-2, over two years, 20 wins over 2 seasons in the SEC, one of Johnny Manziel's favorite targets. And then you went Josh Reynolds, who had a breakout year his first season. I think he finished, second in the SEC to Amari Cooper only in touchdown receptions. And then this year you had Ratley, and you look at where they're each at when they arrive, and they each of the three has – Ratley's more polished than both of those guys were coming in. I think he's further along.
Yeah, when I look at Ratley, I look at a pure receiver. And so, that I think that's one of the things that's been missing in the arsenal for A&M. It's a pure route runner, pure receiver.
Speedy was an athlete.
Exactly. So when you look at that, Speedy's more, in my eyes, he's more of a slot guy. Get him in open space, give him a two-way go, and he can kill people.
Yeah.
When you look at Ratley, he's a true number one in my eyes. Somebody who can spread the field, somebody who's that deep threat and can go get that ball at the highest point. And that's why I like Ratley a lot.
All right. Gabe, you got anything for us, or are we still going over here, buddy?
Well, the breakfast is real good. I'll tell you that much, Billy. But, yeah, if we want to – I got a little donut. Oh, let's say goodbye to Seth.
All right, Seth.
Oh, yeah.
Seth, what do you have to do, work?
Well, here's the thing. Seth,
that's the job. That's all
Seth,
it is.
you've lost 100 pounds. But I'm just telling you, if there's ever a day to cheat and have a cheat day, go ahead and just eat the donut. It's not going to kill you.
Trust me.
Grab you a kolache on your way out the door.
Let me tell you a little story about Seth.
Pour a little cream in that coffee.
I brought him to a Super Bowl party Sunday. I had a big class of '97 weekend with all those guys up in Dallas. It was great to hang out with Jay Brooks, Amon Simon, Sean Coriat,
up there for Harold
Ronald
still.
Patton, that
Harold
whole
Shooter,
group. It was a great weekend. Seth Curry, and I get back, and Seth McKinney and I go to Shane Leckler's for Super Bowl party, and I had to drive back. It was a long weekend, so neither one of us, I don't even think we had a beer between us, but which is rare for anyone in America at a Super Bowl party, right? But Seth took it one step further, where this rate's up there.
Oh, what did I
really
do? I can't wait to hear what I did.
Found a coffee machine sitting off to the side, and went and in the middle of the game brewed himself a coffee, which
a Curry?
I don't think Leckler was very happy with at all, and I was equally.
That was Folger's grinded coffee.
So, damn it, go have a donut.
That's right. Seth wanted to just sneak out of here, but we can't do that to you, Seth. So with that,
hey,
have a good drive.
It's been a fun recruiting year following this. So
it's been a fun half hour.
Hopefully it's going to finish the rest of the day even better.
We really appreciate you putting in all this effort for a half hour. So.
All 30 minutes.
All right, be good. Be good. With that, we've got a new signee. We'll break it down. We'll let you know who it is right now. And on my list of hidden gems, Luch, he would be right at the top. It's a speedster, a running back, Jay Bradford, 5'10", 190-pounder from Splendora. That might be a reason why he's rated a little bit too low, but he was an Army All-American. Number 33 in Luch's 44. Here's what the stats look like for Jay this year. 180 carries, 939 yards and 10 touchdowns, caught 10 balls for 144 yards and a touchdown. And if we want to go right here, Bryce, if you want to get set up real quick for a thought on Jay, I know you like him a lot as an underrated, as a hidden gem type of guy, but Jay Bradford, everyone knew who was getting the ball for that offense, didn't they?
You're talking about a guy who came here last summer for the A&M camp and clocked a 4.29 on his first 40 on the indoor. And after that, of course, he said that was one of the funnest times. The craziest things for him is every coach basically showed up with a stopwatch, and he went 4.31, I think, the next time. So no fluke. One of the fastest guys in the state, will win a state championship again this year in the 100 meters and the long jump. He's a one cut and go. He played on a pretty bad football team. Basically, you had to stop Jay. If you could stop Jay, they would throw 9-10 in the box and cover one guy. And so he had a lot of trouble getting open, but one of the fastest guys in the state, no doubt.
There you go, Luch. You and Jordan Pugh to break down Jay Bradford, who's now official.
Jay, I have a special place in my heart for Jay Bradford in this class. I'm going to tell you why, Jordan. He committed so early. Mm-hmm. And he committed along with Rodney Anderson, who's at Oklahoma now as a midterm grad. One of A&M's very few, maybe their only decommitment if they end up signing Dalen Mack today.
Right.
So he stayed solid from wire to wire. guys like him and Jordan Davis, and Jay Bradford never so much as tripped to another campus. And to me, that's you got to have guys like that in your class.
Exactly.
Because in today's day and age, and it was starting to trend that way when you were a recruit too. I don't blame guys for decommitting. It's hard. You got these guys pulling you in every direction, and it's worse the bigger recruit you get.
Yeah.
But he stayed solid, and I don't think we've really gotten to see what he's capable of. He clocked 2 sub-4 threes at A&M's camp.
Exactly.
And I know, it's a camp time. We know how that goes. Like, what were you at a camp versus an A&M versus an NFL combine?
Let's see.
Let's try to see the
a camp
difference.
Probably a 3-9.
Right.
You know how camps go, but I'm with you on the point as far as committing. Because I remember, when I committed early. I want to say it was July.
Yeah.
I committed. And so I remember I came here on my unofficial visit. And I told my dad this is where I want to go. And my dad looked at me and said, it's early. And I said, well, this is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, if you commit, you honor it. You wouldn't let me go anywhere else. And it's kind of, in this day and age, it's kind of like that's missing now. It's like if you committed, honor your commitment. If you don't know where you want to be, just don't commit. But when you look at a guy like Jay, he jumps off at you on, explosive home run hitter. Yeah. Like, it seemed like every single carry he had was to the house. And you look at over, 2,300 yards, 21 touchdowns, big one-cut runner. I think he fit the offense perfect.
I do too, and I think that's one thing people, he didn't have a line in front of him in high school. He just didn't. And they were kind of overmatched against a lot of their opponents. There wasn't a lot of running room. You say that, and I heard Bryce say it too, one-cut guy.
Yep.
A&M hasn't really had that guy. Ben Molina had brought that to this offense.
That's true.
And you saw how successful he was. Jay Bradford's a guy that, to me, has a lot of the same traits Ben did in the work ethic. He wasn't the highest rated guy, but you could tell he had it in him in high school. Now, Ben was a lot more productive, played at that Cedar Hill powerhouse. It was kind of the start of their emergence there. He was a part of that. But he reminds me of Ben in that, don't you just watch him and go, this guy's going to find his way onto the field, and he's going to find a way to play and contribute at Texas A&M.
I'm glad that you said Ben, because the first person that I thought of was Cyrus Gray.
Yeah.
The reason why I say Cyrus Gray is because of the one cut.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at Jay, man, you see a guy, well, this is what you want in a running back. You want somebody who's going to be decisive in the cut that they make and then go.
Yeah.
So you look at the linemen that we brought in, you look at the linemen we've had in the recent history. They're going to open the holes for you, make your cut, and go. And so, the comparison for me, I compared him to Cyrus, but now that you said, Ben, I see what you're.
And I'm with you on Cyrus, and I see both, because my mind at that point, I was just thinking of since someone arrived in this offense. But going back further, I do see that, and from a size standpoint, he's a lot like Cyrus, going about a little over between 5'10" and 5'11" right now, and about 195 pounds. Cyrus, had got later in his career. I know he started his last season here. Maybe it was his junior. One of those 2 years, he started a little over 205.
Right.
I think that's about where you're going to see Bradford and keep that speed. And Cyrus, we saw what his speed did to defenses during that Cotton Bowl run in 2010.
And when you look at the stable of backs that we have, man, we have to use them more, I think. When you really break down the offense, you got to pick a guy and you got to run with him. You have Brandon Williams, Trey Carson.
Yeah.
Trey's the heavy hitter.
Yeah.
He's the heavy hitter that you need in offense, but you need that one guy who can be that home run. But the thing about it, we have to be consistent.
Yes.
That's our problem. We have to be consistent. When one guy gets going,
and you saw that with Trey in the bowl game.
Exactly. And so it's kind of like, pick your thoroughbred.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You already got the hammer and Trey. Pick the thoroughbred who can take it home for you. So,
and I think
that's how I see the class.
It's a great point, and I think that's the plan moving forward.
Right.
I think A&M, with the hire of Dave Christensen, and you played against his offenses at Missouri. And they spread you out. They throw it around. They had great receivers. They had a great quarterback in Gabbert. He was preceded by a really great one in Chase Daniel.
Exactly.
And they spread you out, but they have a power element to their running game. They get downhill, and we're going to talk a little more about Missouri later, because the other running back A&M set to sign today reminds me of one of those Mizzou tailbacks. Gabe, we got a guy just in. that I really want to. I can't wait till you guys kick it back because I've been looking forward to talking to Jordan about this guy in particular. I'm excited to talk to him about him.
Absolutely. And speaking of guys that have been rock solid from the get-go, Justin Dunning's now officially official. Now, let me let you know, if you're up for whatever or talking recruiting with us today from 4 to 6, Aggieland Bud and Jack Hilliard Distributing is going to sponsor our happy hour, free drinks, free snacks and appetizers, items like that, hors d'oeuvres. Come on out. You are invited if you're watching this program, because that means you're a premium subscriber. Oh, we'll have plenty of leftover kolaches, trust me. And so you can enjoy that from 4 to 6 today at the TexAgs headquarters, 308 George Bush Drive. With that, Justin Dunning is in out of White House High School, 6'4", 205. I don't know if that sounds slight. I think he's growing by the day, Bryce. But number 20 in Lucci's 44, despite missing most of his junior year with a knee injury and coming off of that this year. He was the opening MVP this summer in Oregon, ranked number 224 on ESPN's 300.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites in this class. Him and Larry Pryor, these East Texas kids. Justin Dunning, you're just not going to find a bigger athlete in this class. You talk about he tore his ACL his junior year, and then he was back not long after that, really tearing things up again on the football field. So a really good get, a guy who can play a number of different positions. I bet John Chavis would love to see where he really fits into his defense.
No question. Justin Dunning, 79 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and scored a touchdown defensively for White House this year. We've got back-to-back signees have put in their facts and made it official. Connor Lanfear's now in. Seth's guy. Connor Lanfear, 6'5", 295 from Hayes High School, number 19 in Lucci's 44. A Semper Fidelis All-American, Billy, ranked 250 in the ESPN 300.
Boy, Connor Lanfear. We talked about him a little bit.
Yep.
We got Seth's take.
Yep.
When I think of him, I think, okay, he could play right tackle. He could play guard.
Mm-hmm.
Could maybe even play center. But I think he is a guard at the college level because I think when he's done growing, and you see him getting out there with that footwork and that quickness right now, when he's done growing, I think Connor Lanfear is a 325-pound, he's the closest thing in this class physically. I don't know how many guys A&M is going to sign that are more SEC ready from the high school ranks this year in this class than Connor Lanfear. And after a year in the weight room, this guy is going to be, again, he reminds me a lot of some of those Alabama interior linemen.
Yes.
And I just think he's going to eat up so much space and displace so many people. That's when you start bringing back that running game. And he's also so wide that in this spread offense, it's going to make it very difficult for guys to get around him and get to Kyler Murray or Kyle Allen before they get rid of the football.
You said the perfect word, displace.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you watch film, he removes people. And he's my favorite lineman too. When I look at him, I can see the guard position for him too as well. You look at the running game that's coming in, a lot of guard pull, a lot of trap plays, a lot of power plays, out of the shotgun formation, especially coming in with that Missouri type offense. So he'll fit perfectly. But man, when you look at him, the aggressiveness that he plays with, and when he displaces people, he literally moves them to the next gap or 2 gaps over. That's the perfect type lineman that you need in the SEC.
Yeah.
You're going against teams like Alabama, the LSUs, Arkansas. When you saw what Arkansas did this past year, how their running game got going, they were displacing people out of gaps. And so when you got Lanfear coming in, that's a huge pickup for A&M.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that you lost a lot of size at guard with Jarvis Harrison.
Right.
He's going to be a similarly sized guy. Mm-hmm. And then you throw in like an Eric McCoy in the middle.
Right.
You see where A&M's starting to get bigger and more physical on that interior. And again, he could play right tackle when you watch him move. But let's move on to Justin Dunning here.
Right.
Okay? I'm just gonna turn this over to you. I've talked about him, I've written about him. I want to hear what Jordan Pugh has to say about this safety that for a while there when he committed, I was sitting there going, this guy might be a linebacker, this guy might be a rush end before all said and done. But when you look at him, he definitely looks more comfortable on the back end of a defense, and that seems to be his comfort zone. And he reminds me, I look back and I go, could this be another Patrick Bates?
He's making it a dilemma for me between him and Larry Pryor.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I like more, but when I look at Justin Dunning, big kid,
Yeah.
I mean, he went 6'4", 205.
And that's a legit. When you see him, you realize that's legit size.
That's a linebacker. I see him as a linebacker. He's going to grow. He's going to get bigger. He's 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he's 22, you could look at 225, 230 for him. But when you look at him, man, it's what? 141 career tackles. He had 2 years, really. So 141 tackles, 9 picks, 6 pass breakups, 4 forced fumbles, a touchdown.
Missed a year with an ACL,
Exactly.
came back. So
it
now
shows
his
his work ethic right there. And so you look at this kid, and then when you see him play, you see him hit people. Like he strikes people, runs through people. And when he has the ball in his hands, he can move. He's quick. But the thing that I like the most, though, he can play in space.
Yes.
When you're a safety, you have to be able to play in space. And that's why I can see him possibly moving to, say, a will linebacker spot. When you look at the 6'4", 205, you look at his frame, he has the frame to put on the pounds and the muscle.
Put on 25.
So, man, you see him and you see how he plays, and you get him into space, one-on-one with running backs, receivers, whatever it may be, he can come right in and fit. I think he may be the one guy that you don't redshirt.
He's so long. He's so rangy.
Exactly.
You see A&M with guys like he and Ronnie Elam in the secondary.
Exactly. Yeah.
I equated Jordan to, it's like you go and watch a basketball game from court level, and you go, let's say you're watching a college game, you have to watch those elite college teams like we watched Kentucky a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Or you go to an NBA game and then you really see it. How much smaller does an NBA team make the court look than a college game? And it's that length, it's those rangy guys. Justin Dunning is going to cover all kinds of ground, whether it be in secondary or if he's playing closer
and
to
the
line
thing,
of scrimmage.
here's the thing, and here's another dilemma that I have. When you look at the linebacker spot, I can see him growing into, say, a will linebacker, for example. And it's like you said, the range, sideline to sideline, the quickness. But when you watch film on him, it's how he disengages from blocks.
Yeah.
Because he has the long arms. He's physical enough to be down in the box, and he was mainly in the box in high school.
Yeah.
And so that's why I can see the transition being a perfect fit for him.
Before we kick it back to them, and we're about to talk, I'm going to give this one away. I'm not going to do it much. We've got Larry Pryor to talk about next. But what's the guy's name? Not Eric Berry from Tennessee, who was John Chavis, coach and recruited player there for the Vols. Who was the guy at USC that same year? Was it Mays?
Taylor Mays, yeah.
And how big was he? Wasn't he not quite that tall, but pretty
maybe
big?
6'3". It had to be 230.
Yeah, and so I'm just trying to think of a recent guy that size because this is not Patrick Bates because the game has changed so much than when he was a first-round pick at A&M back in 94, 93, 94. Right. Mays is a guy that when you go, maybe he can grow into that kind of guy.
Comparison, I like that.
Fellas, let's kick it back to you guys. Let's hear a little bit about the latest addition to the class and another big time get.
Oh, no question about that. Out of East Texas again, and another guy who is rock solid and has been for well over about a year now, Bryce. Larry Pryor, 6'1", 195-pounder, a safety. We talked about him yesterday. Larry Pryor, out of Sulphur Springs High School, number 22 in Lucci's 44, a 15-5A district MVP. But beyond that, not a whole lot of accolades. Didn't make any All-Americans, didn't make an All-State team. Probably, though, as you said yesterday, because he had to be a great teammate when they asked him to and play a quarterback position, a position he really didn't know how to play until they asked him to do it his senior year. Oh, and he did it pretty well because he's such a great athlete, number 154 in ESPN's 300.
Yeah, Larry's kind of my sleeper in this class. He's the guy that I think that nobody's talking about. They're undervaluing him. I mean, he has put together a big physical kid that he played safety all his life until his last year's coaches, they needed him. They needed him to play quarterback. They knew he was the best athlete on their football team, and so they put the ball in his hands. And, he almost upset Ennis in the first round of the playoffs, James Lockhart and them. They got 1 yard away from upsetting what eventually was the state champs. And from what I heard, it was all heart by Larry Pryor in that game. And so I think he's a big physical guy that can really, really make an impact on this next level. And I think everybody's sleeping on him because he was a quarterback in this class. And I think it's a really good get. And then another note I probably want to send to Luch and those guys, Justin Martin, the JUCO corner, looks like he is officially signed with Tennessee. So one of the guys that John Chavis was after late, it looks like he is signed with Tennessee and won't be signing with Texas A&M. So that's a guy that we were watching today is a possibility. A very small possibility, but it was a guy we were watching.
All right, so Justin Martin's now a Tennessee Volunteer officially, according to Bryce Jones, and reports out there, especially on social media and Twitter. But Larry Pryor's in, Billy. Hey, just a reminder, Jay Bradford is already trying to call. We don't have phones until the radio starts. That's how excited some of these guys are. Jay Bradford's going to call us very quickly.
Jay Bradford.
Yeah, we're going to basically run down the list of who's in and who's left. And we'll go to Jay Bradford pretty quickly here, Billy, in the 8 o'clock hour. Eric McCoy's going to join us out of Lufkin. Connor Lanfear set to join us. Trevor Elbert set to join us. Any other offensive linemen or somebody else? Kima Sivaran. James Lockhart. And we're efforting Kyler Murray as well. Yeah, so all that. You might have some special guests. Also, the always entertaining Steve McKinney. Seth followed Steve at A&M, but Steve's following Seth on this program today. And who else we got? Oh, Demontre Moore at 10:30. Demontre Moore at 10:30. With that, we've got another signee. It's James Lockhart. A lot for you guys to talk about, Billy. 6 minutes until the top of the hour. A hard out here, so get it back to me for 5 minutes. I'll go right to you. James Lockhart out of Ennis, a state champion, and 6'3", 200, and what did he check in, about 260 out of Ennis?
260 on his visit. Making him, he's already weight-wise as big as any D lineman, any DN on the A&M roster. I mean, a lot of those guys are right around that area. We're watching Lockhart now, so let's talk about him. We'll go back to Larry Pryor. First things first, Justin Martin, that's a loss for A&M at corner. It's unfortunate because from everything I heard, Jordan, the kid really wanted to play at Texas A&M.
Right.
But he's a Nashville guy. A&M got in on him late. Maybe had John Chavis had a little more time to work, him and the family, they could have done it. But he's going to play in the SEC East at Tennessee. One of the three corners today that I have a sneaking suspicion A&M is going to land one of them. I don't know who. Now you're down to two options. So we're all watching Chris Boyd and Kendall Sheffield, who's going to announce here pretty shortly.
Right.
1 out of 3, I liked A&M's chances. We're down to 1 out of 2 now.
Right.
It may or may not happen for A&M today at adding that additional corner, but the guy they did sign, James Lockhart, we were watching highlights of him. State champion at Ennis. Another huge early recruiting battle. A&M, the runner-up there was the distant runners-up were Texas, or Florida State, Oklahoma, Miami, schools like that. The team that you went head-to-head for, and this was a straight-up head-to-head win, was Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and that defense of the Alabama Crimson Tide. They know a thing or two about guys in the front seven. James Lockhart had that offer. He's an Aggie today, and I don't think there's anybody in there that could be more happy than John Chavis and Terry Price right now.
I think this is the biggest signing that you can have right now.
Really?
As far as the defense, because let's look at Chavis. Chavis 4-3 scheme. Loves edge rushers. Yes. Get it out. So you got Myles Garrett, James Lockhart. When I look at him, immediate impact. That's what I see. When I watch him play, he stands out immediately from the first play on. Great hands, great speed, great lateral quickness.
You mentioned things that really could help him on the strong side opposite Myles.
Exactly. And you pair those two together, that's a crazy tandem that you have right there, especially in the rotation that we have with the ends that we got going on right now. You got 369 total tackles, man, 29 sacks, 9 forced fumbles. His first step is explosive, and that's what you want. When you look at Myles Garrett, you've seen an explosive first step.
Yeah.
When we have Vaughn Miller, I played with Vaughn, explosive first step. He has the same characteristics plus the strength.
Yeah.
So I think it's a huge pickup, and I really believe that that's the most important pickup we got today.
And you know what? I think he was so underrated, and we moved him way up the TexAgs recruiting team before the final adjustments. He had a great senior year, but really underrated. And is it just to me? It was because he lacked and this is so stupid when you look around college football. You look at a guy like the guys Missouri have had on the edge the last couple of years. He lacked maybe a little bit in the ideal, height and length. But when you watch the tape, he's over 6'2", he's 260. And you mentioned it. He does everything you need to do to be successful in the trenches. And he's going to be a big, strong, he's going to be a 270-pound defensive end if they want him to be.
You got to look at it. Here's another reason why I say the most important pick. You know, you lose guys like Martin in Tennessee. You know, you're looking for corners. You're looking for defensive backs. Your best friend is a pass rush.
Yeah.
You know, you can make a lot of DBs look real good when you get into that quarterback. And so, man, when you look at him, yeah, he was underrated. Not a lot of noise about him, but I mean, the tape speaks for itself. He's all over the place. But the biggest thing for a defensive end is that first step. And if he has that first step, you can do a lot of things with that. And he has that. He possesses it.
We're going to kick it back to Gabe for some breaking news beforehand, and I guess, Gabe, we'll get back to the guy you're about to announce, and we need Larry Pryor because I want Jordan to have plenty of time to talk about one of his fellow safeties.
Absolutely. We've got about a minute and a half. We're going to try to hit this right on the nose at 8 o'clock. Bryce, you've got some breaking news as it pertains to A&M and of the negative variety, and then I'll go with the positive. How about that?
Yeah. Give me the negatives. But, yeah, Kendall Sheffield has officially signed with Alabama, looks like.
Yeah.
So that one is officially off the boards now.
All right,
Kendall was the guys, real quick, that the least of the three, because I felt like Justin Martin and Chris Boyd really wanted to be Aggies. They really wanted to sign with A&M, and in the case of Boyd, maybe still wants to. We'll see. But Sheffield was the one that was really all in with A&M and Nick Saban.
Texas has still not received Boyd's letter of intent yet, so that one is still open. They don't sign until 9 today.
All right, with that, we'll let you know that Kendall Bussey is now in. Man, if you didn't fall in love with the arms already and want to give him an additional star because of it, watch his tape out of Isidore Newman. They produced the Mannings and a guy named Odell Beckham Jr. Well, guess who's the all-time school record holder in the 40-yard dash in a school where Odell Beckham Jr. went? Kendall Bussey at 5'9", 200 pounds, a first-team All-Stater at a power program.
And he's much bigger than 200 pounds, I'm going to tell you that right
Absolutely.
now.
We've got about 10 seconds. We're going to go right to the top of the hour. Thanks once again for commercial-free coverage to Aggieland Bud, Jack Hilliard Distributing, and thanks to them, you'll be able to drink free and talk to us about this signing class coming your way from 4 to 6 on TexAgs.com.